One Pictures.
Yeah.
Let's get to our final film of the episode, All Quiet on the Western Front.
All Quiet on the Western Front.
The Academy Award winner for 1930
Yeah.
for Best Picture, or Outstanding Production, I believe, as it was called back then.
Spoilers for the upcoming favorites section, but I agree that this is the best picture of 1930.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I liked. I don't know if we're getting into favorites immediately. It's either this or Borderline for me. I think this probably overall is a more successful movie.
This movie was very affecting for me. I was bowled over by this. I've rarely seen war movies that are this unambiguously anti-war, because the thing that I always say, which I believe, or I bring up a lot, which I think is a reference or something that Truffaut said about it being impossible to make an anti-war movie because there's something that's glorifying about putting something on a movie screen.
Yeah.
And I think that this has done one of the best jobs that I've seen of a war movie just feeling awful. Like there's nothing to be proud of here. Like, this just sucks. Like, this is bad.
It's like, it doesn't even, I like how much it doesn't necessarily just hit you over the head with it. Like I think the Netflix adaptation, the German adaptation of this novel that came out last year, it goes way harder with how violent it is, in terms of like seeing just people being like torn apart by artillery and bayonets, and it's like, it's really, really, it's one of the most like violent movies I've probably ever seen.
Wow.
But I like how much this movie's pretty violent for when it was made, but I like how much of it is, naturally there's that element of war that sucks and is terrible and is completely dehumanizing, but there's also just like how much World War One was just sitting in a trench, not having food, and like, just the slow progression of like having your own humanity like stripped from you. Is I think the thing this movie gets, and I think I haven't read the novel, but I think having seen now 2 different movie adaptations of it, like, that is sort of the main idea that is being put forth, is sort of like the cumulative effect of how it just like hollows people out.
Like that scene in the trench where they're starving for a week or something like that. It's rough. Like, there are all these people who they're being shelled constantly, so they can't leave their hole that they're in, and they can't sleep because of all of the noise. They start eating sawdust and stuff.
They're also children, right? They're all like 17. So it's like, just that, in addition, as a thing that I think about with older wars, right, is like how young the people were who usually fought in them. And there's tons of stories in World War One about people who lied about their age, who were like 14, who went to go fight in World War One. I'm like, you put a 14-year-old in a trench? It's crazy.
And there's a scene later in the movie, they were kind of seniors in high school, or whatever the German equivalent of this was. But then there's a scene where it's a few years later, and the main character is kind of back at the kind of training area, and he's seeing the like even younger people.
Who he goes back to his old school.
He goes back to, but he goes back to the base camp, and then he sees like all of these even younger teens who have just been like sent out on one mission, and 80% of them died. And he's like, what are we even doing, And there's another scene where he is home on leave because he got injured, and the movie begins with his teacher in school basically telling him and his classmates that it's noble to die for your country. You guys have a great opportunity here. Like, this is so good and so right for you to do, and it's so you're heroes for doing it. And then he comes home and sees, after having his entire base of friends and classmates be maimed or killed, he goes back home and sees that teacher doing the same thing to some more students who, and it horrifies him, and he says, like, he tells them, like, there's nothing good about this, like, this is like about being a soldier, it's horrible, it's bad, like it's pain and death. And then the students are so bought in that they call him a coward and try and kick him out of the classroom.
It did remind me of things I was reading about Caligari, and how that movie is like a response to the German experience of World War One, and how there was like people who fought in World War One came back and were like, we were lied to, like we were children who looked up to authority, and they told us all this stuff about the glory of war and that it would be an adventure and all this stuff. And they were just like, no, sir, incorrect. How dare you? Like, we are betrayed and no longer trust authority as a concept anymore. Which is fair. And I think this movie gets at that feeling pretty well. Even if it's an American film, I don't think that there was quite that level of like disillusionment after World War One in the United States. I mean, it was certainly a much more distant thing for the US because it was never on, whatever conflict happened in the US was like naval, right? It was like submarines blowing up ships and such. Like there was never, Germany never invaded Florida.
Yeah.
Whereas I think certainly in like England and other parts of Europe and Germany, it's like it's a much more kind of palpable wound in their like cultural identity. And this is I think this movie is often held up as like one of the only examples of like if an anti-war film is possible, right? Because of the Truffaut sort of paradox, right? Of like, is it possible to be truly anti-war when like film inherently kind of glorifies whatever you're filming? Yeah, it's like this is I think the power of the written material, like again, having not read the novel, but it's like the writing of it is so strong that I think it really imparts a real disillusionment with the entire idea of war.
There's a similar scene in this movie as in Hell's Angels, where the characters are talking about the futility and like pointlessness of the war. And there it's like this kind of thing to make fun of, but in here it's like it's coming from a genuine place, and it makes you believe it. It makes you like you've witnessed these children be traumatized horrifically by everything going on around them, and they're like, why are we actually even doing this, and it is a genuine question in the movie. I like you were saying, I think that like this being an American production is kind of interesting because like, it's an American production in English, but based on a German book about Germans. And
it opens with the first lines of the novel. Like it's got a little title card at the beginning that's like the first paragraph in English from the book.
Like, because it's not about Americans, I think it kind of sidesteps some of the issues that might arise if this movie were about Americans, which would be like this kind of tie to your own nation, I think that like if you're making a war movie about your own nation's military, then there's this like reflexive support that you feel. Where this movie, I think, at least for American audiences, like allows you to be a little more dispassionate about what's going on because it is about Americans playing Germans and presumably Americans playing French people. So you can look at just the general idea of what it's trying to say. Isolated from national feelings.
Yeah. I would like to read the book. having now seen 2 movies of it, it does seem like, and it's always kind of interesting just to compare the two. I don't think we need to get into that very heavily because I don't think you've seen the German one, right?
I have not. No.
But it's, you know, a lot of the same. They have kind of the same big scenes, right? The big kind of turning point scenes are all the same, or very similar. Like there's maybe my favorite scene in both movies is when Paul, the lead character, is stuck in a crater with a French soldier that he's just stabbed, but he's still alive. And they don't speak the same language, and they're both just hiding in there, and the French guy is slowly dying over the course of hours or days. And Paul goes from, you know, immediately stabbing this guy to try to kill him to talking with him and trying to almost sort of like keep him alive. And then he finally dies, and it's like you see like Paul's brain breaking throughout this whole
because
scene.
There are parts where like his military training is kicking in, and he like starts acting more aggressively toward the guy.
Yeah.
And then he just pulls himself back. He's like, "Oh no, you're my brother. I'm so sorry." You know.
Yeah, and he's like giving him water, and he's like trying to keep him alive, and he's like, "I'm so sorry for what I did. Like I was afraid. I thought you were my enemy." And then he finally dies, and it's almost like he gets angry with him again for dying. It's it's a very it's really a very intense, powerful scene that I think, if I have one criticism of this movie, it's that I think the lead actor who plays Paul, Lew Ayres, mm-hmm. His acting style is very 1930s, I guess. Like it's very big, and there's moments that don't feel as maybe truthful as I wish they did for this movie.
I think he does a good job in a lot of parts, but yeah, there are definitely some things that are done a little too big, and this was an early role for him too.
Yeah, but that being like, I think for when this movie was made and when it came out, I think he is well cast and is still. I mean, it's, you know, one of these pitfalls of being like an early talkie. People didn't really know quite how to act on film in many ways.
I will say that
it was like less naturalistic than we're used to seeing now, but it is, I think, for the time, it is a good performance. I don't want to badmouth it.
The soldier, the French soldier who was dying in that pit, is named Raymond Griffith, and he was a comedian in a bunch of silent movies. But he is someone who, this was his last movie he ever made, not because he died, but because he was able to be a silent film star because he lost his voice when he was a kid. And so he played a character who could not speak. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Damn.
And also speaking to this as a sound movie, I thought the sound design in it was incredible.
Every aspect of the direction of this movie, I think, is pretty incredible. Like this is easily the best directed sound film that we've watched.
Yeah, I mean, this is like verging on the best movie that we've seen so far to me.
I wouldn't hold it up that highly, but I can see why.
It's definitely up there.
Yeah, that's more of a matter of personal preference than anything else.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a very well made movie.
But yeah, the sound design in this, like the just explosions in the background, when they're stuck in the trench, like the dust falling down from the ceiling, and just like this kind of like in the out and out battle scenes, like the kind of extreme gunshots and explosions noises, I think it all sounds really, really good. And notable also is that this movie doesn't have a score, which is pretty common in early sound movies. It's funny that the Broadway Melody actually had some non-diegetic music, but now that there's like a lot of stuff that, like, now that sound is getting more established, it feels like non-diegetic score music is becoming less, like, it's not much of a thing.
Did Morocco have a score? That had plenty of music, and I don't think it ever had score. Yeah, Hell's Angels did, but I don't think Morocco does.
Yeah, this movie has no score, and in fact, like, I think a score was added later, and the director, Louis Milestone, was vehemently against it and campaigned for its removal, which it eventually was.
It is almost, I think this movie is a good example of, with the introduction of sound, silence takes on additional weight, because like the choice not to have sound is then much more deliberate. And so I think the parts of this movie where they pull the sound out are actually like, you really feel the silence of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there's a lot of like off-screen dialogue and off-screen sound effects, which are things like, this is a movie where if you took the sound out, it would really feel like it was missing something.
Yeah. And there is a silent version of this movie. This was a process that a lot of movies went through in this early sound era, where they made a kind of Sunrise style version that is silent with intertitles, but then has sound effects and music. And that was and it was also edited slightly differently, the silent version of this. So that's also, there is a silent version.
I don't know, I feel like we've kind of like, do we want to talk about the plot anymore? Like,
I guess we don't need to.
They go to war. Everyone dies.
They go to war and they string from like terrible thing to terrible thing. Some are like terrible in a life-threatening way, and some are terrible in like a sort of interpersonal way. And then occasionally there's some levity, just to give you contrast.
I do actually think the levity in this movie is like incredibly important, to have like those few moments of lightness in them, because even those kind of feel like really mundane in a way, where it's like they find a poster of a woman and they're like, oh my god, look at this lady. Just seeing a poster of a woman, they're just like, oh, what a life we could be living right now. Or you know, they get
traumatized teens.
They get double the amount of beans that they would get, and they're like, it is the best thing that has ever happened. They're like, we have 2 bowls of beans today. And it's just to see how kind of the smallest amount of kind of comfort that they can find is like incredibly important to these people, because they're children who have been asked to, you know, sit in a trench and kill people for years on end.
I think like another kind of source of a lot of the levity in this movie is the character Kat, who
love Kat,
is
great guy.
He's like kind of their commanding officer, but he's not like a tyrant like the first one that they had.
The mailman.
He is like someone who gets it, basically. He's like, like, this is bad and there's nothing good about it, and we're just making the best of of a situation.
He's very jaded, but at the same time he's not a stickler for rules. He's just like, we are just trying to survive. Like, that's the best we can do. If we have to steal food, if we have to, you know, do whatever we gotta do, that's fine. And he's a source of levity and also of kind of like perspective, right? He's a little bit older than the rest of the characters. And but then he is killed unceremoniously from a leg wound that he just bleeds out from.
I think he might have gotten like nicked in the back of the neck or something again during that scene.
Right. It's sort of unclear whether or not it's the leg wound killed him or if he was more gravely injured than he let on. It's not like a big death scene, right? It's just like he gets hurt and then they bring him back to camp. It's like, oh, he's dead. He died. On the way back.
Which it feeds into like what the movie is doing, which is like there's nothing heroic about these deaths, and it's just random and horrible.
He wasn't fighting in a battle even. They were just out like for a walk and a bomb landed on them. And that's kind of like the last, I feel like the kind of like last amount of Paul's humanity kind of leaves when he finds that Kat has died. Like, he's the last friend that he has. And it's
because they've all died.
Right. And then he is this kind of just like, he's lost all will to even survive at that point. And so then it's like the end of the movie, which is great, is he sees a butterfly, and it's like this one tiny symbol of like hope or beauty in the world, and it's like he reaches out to get the butterfly and he gets shot. The meaning behind that imagery is
it's poignant.
It's very easy to understand, but it is very poignant and good. Good movie.
Kat, he's played by Louis Wolheim, who was normally cast as like bruisers and villains in movies.
Yeah, sort of a Wallace Beery type.
He's got a kind of chunky face that with
one of them chunky
previously
faced,
broken nose.
Chunky face 1930s actors. He looks like he could be a boxer or a wrestler or something.
And so he's kind of playing against type here as like a softie. And he does a really good job at it. Lewis Milestone, the director, had previously cast him against type in a comedy movie that he made the previous year. One other kind of note is that, like, we touched on that scene where Paul goes back and sees the class, but you know, he's on leave for like 6 days, and he leaves after 1 day because he's realized that the war has changed him so much that he can't relate to anybody anymore.
Yeah.
And then also he's just disgusted at the way that the powers that be or the kind of older men who aren't fighting in the war are treating it like a game.
Yeah, there's sort of backseat generals who are like looking at maps and like, oh, what they should have done is this.
And he's like, this is terrible. Like,
yeah. That scene, no war happening, but it's like that scene is one of the most sort of like powerful scenes of like what war does to people. Like they come back and they don't know how to function anymore because they've been conditioned just to live in these very specific terrible circumstances, which is still, you know, a problem with veterans coming back from war. So,
and along with the lines of this being like a pre-code movie,
got gore in it.
We mentioned, there's some pretty shocking gore at some points. In particular, there's a part where there's a French soldier who's running toward some razor wire to try and go through it, and then a bomb blows up right next to him, and then there are just disembodied hands on the razor wire as the rest of him has been exploded. And you're like, oh my god, you know.
Amazing shot. Just such a straightforward visual that is like, it really, like the brutality of it, but also just like the weirdness of it is like really sticks in the brain, I think.
But yeah, I guess we forgot to mention during talking about Hell's Angels that also there's some cussing in it too.
True. Yeah.
Where pretty extreme for the time. There are two. There's a goddammit and two son of a bitches in that movie, which
which is
two
like
sons of bitch.
I don't think I even clocked that when I was watching it. I did also read about that, but it's so tame by today's standards that I didn't even think about it. But it is something that would never have happened in a Hays Code era film.
Yeah,
you know, a post 1934 movie would absolutely not say "son of a bitch," you know, or if they did, it would be like a huge deal,
right? But yeah, this one is more pushing it with the violence, I would say.
Which I think we even talked about. Like the battle scenes in this movie are super intense.
Yeah, and
I think are less. I think the battle scenes in Wings are like really impressive for their scale. Whereas this I think the scale is also there. It's like they're staged very well, and it's clearly huge, lots of extras, everything's blowing up. But I think it kind of puts you in a bit more of a subjective point of view than Wings. Wings was all about kind of like this big, you know, picture of like these massive battle scenes and planes flying overhead, and this is much more like looking out through a tiny hole in a wall and seeing all this stuff. You know, it's like it feels very sort of from the perspective of the soldiers. And there were a couple shots in this of like mortars landing or like things blowing up that were just still insane to see because they're just doing it for real, you know. I don't know if they're using actual artillery or not, but it's like, there's some kind of jaw dropping stuff, and it's well directed too. Like there's lots of great like cameras on a track a lot of the time, just like tracking through stuff. A lot of really good camera movement, great sound design and that stuff.
Yeah, there's some good parts where they're able to do some more freeform movement with the camera by having sort of pre-recorded sound over it.
Yeah.
So there's like dialogue over camera moving, but it's dialogue that was recorded and then placed on top of it. so that you could do much more dynamic stuff, which I thought was a really good way of getting around the issues that they had.
Yeah, it's like it's a great sort of, this is maybe the first movie that we've watched that feels like it is kind of properly using both methods of like recording stuff while the camera's running, but then also pre-recording stuff or recording stuff after to allow for a freer use of the camera. Good movie. This movie was banned in Germany, amongst other places. Not right away, but in Germany, this movie was attacked by Nazis who would straight up like attack screenings. Like they would show up and they would throw stink bombs and like, beat people up who tried to get into the theater, and like
they released rats into the theaters.
Yeah. And it got, I guess, maybe because of that pressure, maybe there was some other political pressure, but this movie was banned before the Nazis took power in 1933. It was definitely banned after that. And the book was also banned and was one of the first to be publicly burned. Other countries banned the movie. I mean, it's very obvious why Nazis hated this movie. It's because it is the least nationalistic thing that is extremely anti-war and is like, hey, old German men leading people to war, bad, don't do it.
Right.
But other countries banned this purely on the stance that it was seen as pacifist propaganda, which is wild.
Yeah.
It's wild to be like, this movie is too anti-war. Like, we got to have some more pro-war stuff out in the world.
Yeah, I mean, people have been killed over that, so...
Yeah, it's crazy to think of a movie being banned for that reason, but it happened.
Yeah.
The book was also banned for similar reasons. Sometimes up until like the 50s or through the 70s. Like, it was banned for a while. The author of this book, Erich Maria Remarque, speaking of Marlene Dietrich and her many affairs, they had an affair later on in the 1930s, so good for them.
The director, Lou Milestone, kind of went on to make a lot more Hollywood movies.
Yeah.
Including Mutiny on the Bounty and Ocean's 11, the original Ocean's 11.
Quite a filmography.
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie it's definitely sort of in the pantheon of like the great Hollywood movies, and I think it is.
Yes.
Deservedly so.
I think it's like the first great sound movie.
Yeah, probably. I don't like, maybe it's just the fact that I'd seen it before. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't have a super strong like emotional reaction to this movie. I really admire how well made it is, but I don't feel like I saw it and was like, oh, my heart, which is,
yeah, I guess I didn't remember enough from the last time that I saw it that
yeah, maybe
it hit
I'm
me as if it was the first time.
Maybe I'm just so hollowed out from having seen too many war movies. I don't know.
And yeah, if we're to move into favorites, it's my favorite. What do you think?
I'm gonna say Borderline just to be contrarian and to have a different, because I think my enjoyment of both was about the same, and I mean, I saw Borderline under very good circumstances of being able to see an actual projection of it and that sort of thing. I think Borderline is less concerned with sort of like telling a narrative than I think All Quiet is. But it's, I don't know, I appreciated just the fact that it's like trying a bunch of stuff that I think we're in an era now where movies are starting to really kind of fall into a rut of sameness of like, okay, we know how to do this now. Like, stuff kind of looks the same, and it's, there's, you can still kind of feel some of the weight that having to record sound put on production, even if already it's, the movies this year were so much better than the ones from 28 or 29. So
yeah.
I'm very much looking forward to. I mean, we got a real doozy of a year next episode. So
yeah.
So perfect episode for spooky season. We're gonna be talking about some Universal Monster Pictures.
Just in time though. Just in time for Halloween. And yeah, we'll probably be addressing some Universal monsters in October as well, because they're out there.
We can talk about the Dark Universe some more.
Yes, the original Dark Universe. Well, with that silly reference, I think that'll be about it for this episode.